And there you have it. The Champions League final is set and ready for go for May 22nd. PSG will face off against Arsenal in the final after beating out Bayern Munich 6-5 on aggregate, 1-1 on the night for the second leg. Huge performance by Luis Enrique and his side. You got to give him credit, man, because they came into this match just trying to seal the victory and just hold out to get across the line, right? Last week, they were playing for the win and to get that huge advantage. They did that tonight. They just had to secure and preserve the victory, which they did. They were so close to actually giving Bayern their first match of the season without them scoring. Bayern were this close to not scoring a single goal for the first time in 52 games this season. That is insane, especially when you look at the stats after the match and you see how much possession Bayern Munich actually had throughout that entire 90 minutes. It didn't seem that way in the second half. They were very scrambly and kind of like the pressure was getting too much for them to bear. So it didn't really seem like they had much of the ball in that. PSG was kind of just not playing keep away, so to say, but, absorbing pressure and then dealing with it basically, right? So, yeah, Bayern Munich just not good enough. Harry Kane getting the goal right at the end in stoppage time, but it was too little, too late. PSG scored that goal by Ousmane Dembele early on to kind of really put the knife into Bayern Munich's hope to even go through in the tie. So you got to give them credit for that. It was a good match. I was expecting more from Bayern Munich, if I'm being completely honest. Do not let this kit fool you. I wanted Bayern Munich to advance to the final tonight. They just weren't good enough on the day. PSG was just way too much for them. And I've thought all season long that in the Champions League, Bayern Munich have been the most balanced team because they are solid in the back. They have an amazing front three and attacking players. And even though, yes, they can concede and they will concede, they will always do what they can to one-up you and score more goals than you. And more often than not, we have seen that time and time again this season. Like I said, they've scored in every single match that they have played in this season. That is incredible. I don't even know. I've never even heard of a team doing that at all. I don't think in my time watching football. I feel like that stat is kind of gonna go unnoticed and people may overlook that, but to accomplish that is something truly special. So you do got to give credit to Bayern Munich despite them losing. But I was hoping that they would advance to the final and that they would eventually lift the trophy come the end of the season because, well, Vincent Kompany, obviously a Man City legend. I want him to be a very successful coach. Harry Kane as well. The fact that he won his first piece of silverware in his professional career just last season is absolutely criminal for the caliber player that he is. He deserves way more titles. I would love for him to get his hands on a Champions League trophy in addition to more Bundesliga titles with Bayern Munich and so on. Elise, another one who I would really want to lift that trophy. You know what I mean? I did want Bayern Munich to win, but enough giving praise to the team that ended up losing on the night, or in the tie, I guess, so to say. PSG, my hats get tipped off to you because they have shown this season how strong of a team that they are. I said I felt like Bayern Munich have been the most balanced team. PSG have been the most dominant team in all of Europe this entire season and last season. There's a reason why they are the reigning champions, and they showed exactly that tonight against Bayern Munich. They showed why they are the current champions of Europe right now and why they don't want to give that title away. They were just completely dominant. Between the two ties, you saw a different version of Bayern Munich, or not Bayern Munich, sorry, of PSG. Last week in the first leg, like I said, they were going for the win to dominate, and they did exactly that. They had that 1-goal cushion, my bad. And then in this match, They just needed to seal the victory. That's all. So they did absorb the pressure, and the fact that we could see those two versions of PSG and how well they were able to execute on both of those sides, right? Dominant going forward, insane attacking ability with the likes of Ousmane Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, who else? Barcola, Ezra Doué, and so on. Vitinha as well, even though he's a midfielder, he's a great attacking option as well going forward. Like, they have such a strong attacking team, and they showed today that they could completely go on the opposite end of the spectrum, absorb pressure, dominate, look extremely solid against the likes of Harry Kane, Luis Diaz, and Olise. That front three today was completely locked the fuck up. Like, PSG's defense did an absolutely amazing job. Harry Kane, I know he got the goal today, but besides that, up until he did score that goal, which was, again, in stoppage time of the second half, he didn't have a single sniff on goal. He had absolutely nothing to work with the entire match up until past the 90th minute when he scored. And then for Nuno Mendes and Zaire to completely lock up Luis Diaz and Michael Olise, who have been the two best wingers, some of the two best wingers in Europe all season long. Just pure dominance. Pure dominance on display was shown tonight. I feel like going into the final against Arsenal, they are definitely heavy favorites now to retain the title. And it's only a feat that just one other team has accomplished, right? No other team has retained a Champions League title besides Real Madrid to this date, when they did it back in 2016, from 2016 to 2019? No, 2018, when they won 3 in a row. So yeah, this is a huge moment for PSG. PSG have absolutely everything to be completely proud of, and they have so much to look forward to, because they can make history being the second team to win it twice in a row. It'll be big for the club. We all know that this is the competition that PSG has been, looking to get after and get their hands on for so many years since their financial takeover back in 2012, 2013 or something like that. So yeah, this is a big one for the club. Big up to Luis Enrique, big up to Ousmane Dembele and all of those players. Kvaratskhelia has to be, there is no doubt in my mind that he is a top 5 player in world football right now, currently, right? Like, what he has been able to do at Napoli even, and then coming over to PSG last year during the January transfer window, is absolutely incredible. His skill on the ball, dribbling, getting in behind, getting past players, finishing, the final product is so elite. And I feel like a lot of people don't give Kvaratskhelia the credit that he deserves, because he is without a doubt one of the best attacking players in football right now. And we saw that on display today again. He was absolutely cooking. He was my man of the match for the night. He was, he puts in the work defensively. He contributes going forward. What else can you ask for in a winger, right? We need more players like him in this game, 100%. So, yeah, Arsenal now got the job done against Atletico Madrid yesterday. I didn't cover it. I thought I'd wait till both semifinals were completely done and dusted for me to kind of get on and cover them. So I'll kind of make my portion on them a little bit quick. It has been exactly 20 years since Arsenal were last in the Champions League final. Back when Thierry Henry was on the squad and they played Barcelona, they lost that final to Barcelona. I don't remember the score, whatever. It's a final for the ages, if you've had the pleasure of watching it, right? But it has been such a long time coming for Arsenal to be in a Champions League final. The ups and downs that Arsenal have been through in that amount of time is phenomenal as well, right? Because they have been the laughing stock in football for such a long period of time, even when Mikel Arteta first took over at the club. Right, even when they were in a Europa League final with Unai Emery, they were laughing stocks, right? So what Mikel Arteta has been able to achieve with this Arsenal side is absolutely incredible. And I remember throughout his first 2.5 seasons at the club, because he joined in late December of 2019, so it was in the middle of the 1920 season, right? So his first 2.5 seasons at the club, I remember all the hate that Mikel Arteta was facing from loyal Arsenal fans, from troops, from AFTV, and so, like, you name it. So many people were calling him a fraud, a novice, he was not the right man for the job, and so on. And then here we are for the past 3-ish seasons. He has been in consistent title races against Manchester City and Liverpool, just falling short each time. And this season seems like it's really going to be the season where it comes back to London, where it comes back to Arsenal, right? So for them to kind of like go through this whole thing is absolutely remarkable. And they have been getting battered in the media for their celebrations yesterday at the full-time whistle after they advanced to the final of this tournament, like as if it's a crime to be celebrating the fact that you've reached the biggest trophy, the biggest, the final to the biggest trophy in world football, barring the World Cup, right? In club competition, the biggest trophy. Like, it's a crime to be celebrating that. Like, that is such a major achievement, especially since it's the first final that they've been in 20 years in this exact competition, right? So you got to give it to Arsenal. You got to give it to PSG. I'm a bit conflicted with how I feel on who I want to win, because like I said, I wanted Bayern Munich to win the entire thing. But since it's PSG and it's against Arsenal fans are very insufferable. Like, we can't really lie about that. They are so annoying to deal with because they are very delusional. They chat the most shit when they're on a high, and then when they're on a low, they will turn on their manager, on their player. Like, they are so annoying, right? But at the same time, there are some players on that squad that I do want the best for, like Bukayo Saka, like Gabriel Jesus, who else? Eze, right? Odegaard, I'll say as well, right? Because, yeah, I'll give it to Odegaard. And, Mikel Arteta, although I don't think he's a world-class manager, he was at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola during a very prominent time in our history as well. So, there is some love there. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't want to deal with any Arsenal fans if they win the league and the Champions League in the same season. That would be too much. It would be way too much to deal with. I don't think any of us that aren't Arsenal fans want to go through that on social media. And if you know any Arsenal fans personally, like, yeah, no. And then on the other hand, I've always felt this way with PSG since Neymar and Mbappe, signed for the club. Like, I never wanted them to win a Champions League before Manchester City, and they weren't able to do that. Now, they got the Champions League last season. I don't want them to go one up on Man City in terms of how many Champions League titles they have. I also don't want them to get a second before City, and I also don't want them to win back-to-back before City either. You know what I mean? But I also don't want Arsenal to win. So it's like, I'm conflicted in it. At the end of the day, I'm going to go for PSG. I am going to root for PSG, but damn it, do I wish it was Bayern Munich. So, yeah. There's that. So I'll give that. Atletico Madrid, on the other hand, I did want them to advance because I did want it to be Bayern Munich Atletico in the final. The script there, it being Griezmann's last season at Atletico Madrid, he's had such a long career at that club and he has won absolutely nothing for them. And then when he made that move to Barcelona from 2019 to 2022, Barcelona didn't win anything and Atletico Madrid ended up winning a La Liga title. So, like, it's unfortunate. But for a guy like Griezmann, I would definitely want him to finish on a high and actually win something, right? but not against Bayern Munich, obviously, but whatever. Right? But for Simeone to be needing a goal in that second leg yesterday against Arsenal, right? And he takes out Julian Alvarez, who has won every trophy that he could have possibly won at this point at the club level and international level as well. He takes him off in like the 66th minute. He takes off Antoine Griezmann as well when they need a goal. Like, I've always said it, man. Like, I love Atletico Madrid, but I hate them under Diego Simeone because of the way that they play. Like, he is such a pragmatic manager and coach in the way that he plays. He has his team set up to play football matches. Like, so defensive. They have so much attacking talent, and they hardly score any goals. Like, it is such a criminal offense how little goals they score, how non-attack minded that like Atletico Madrid teams have been under Diego Simeone when they've had the likes of Radamel Falcao, Antoine Griezmann, Diego Costa, David Villa, Fernando Torres, Mandzukic, and so on. The list goes on. And they have struggled immensely to lift any silverware, right? Like, they've only won 2 La Liga titles. And I don't even know how many Copa del Reys. They've made a few Champions League finals, a couple Champions League finals, but, you know, it's all for nothing. So, yeah, man. I think it was a huge bummer for Diego Simeone, for Atletico Madrid, but at the end of the day, you know, they shot themselves in the foot, right? There were shots for penalty against Griezmann, and so on, but I don't know. From what I remember, I'm pretty sure there were kind of like weak shouts. I don't think that they were really ever going to be given as penalties. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And I've always saw Diego Simeone as someone who, good manager, right? Even though I don't agree with his way of football, right? I see his time at Atletico Madrid ending the same way that Arsene Wenger's time at Arsenal ended, where it's kind of like you stayed here way too long. It's just not working. The needle's not being moved forward. And, you know, and the clubs are like, bro, you need to get out. Like, you need to go. You know what I mean? That's how I feel like his time at Atletico Madrid is going to end up, unfortunately. So, yeah. But anyways, man, I'm going to leave it there. Big ups to PSG, to Luis Enrique. Big up to Mikel Arteta and Arsenal for making the Champions League final. It is going to be one hell of a match, in my opinion. I do think it probably does work out better in this case because of the fact that Bayern Munich and Arsenal have already faced each other this season in the Champions League in the league phase. And Arsenal got the better of Bayern Munich, right? They haven't tested this PSG side. They played each other last season in the semifinal. PSG got the better of them, but this is a brand new season. This is an Arsenal team that is a lot more hungry. They're filled with much more confidence considering the fact that they made the final. And they have two hands firmly grasped on the Premier League title as well. So that is huge for them, right? So it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a big one. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, man. I'll see you guys on the next one. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's get this follower count up and everything. So I'll see you guys.